The rain was falling hard that evening in Los Angeles, and Keanu Reeves walked alone down a quiet street. He had just left a small theater where he had attended a charity play in secret, without telling anyone. His long coat was soaked and his mind was heavy. Fame had brought him many things, but it had also taken away the small moments of peace that most people never even noticed. As he turned the corner, Keanu saw something unusual. Outside a closed restaurant, a young girl was sitting under a broken umbrella. Her skin was pale, her breath short, and her eyes filled with a sadness he had rarely seen before. She was thin, her clothes simple and old. At her side, a small sign written in shaky handwriting said, "Please, I only have a few months left. Anything helps." Keanu stopped in his tracks. He had met many people on the streets before, but something about this girl struck him deep inside. She did not ask for money loudly. She did not beg. She simply sat there quietly, almost as if the world had already forgotten her. He slowly walked toward her, trying not to scare her. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. His voice was soft, like a whisper against the rain. The girl looked up, surprised. Her eyes were tired but filled with honesty. "I'm fine," she said, though it was clear she was not. I don't have much time left. The doctor said maybe 3 months. My heart is weak. I used to work as a maid in a hotel, but when I got sick, they let me go. Now I sit here because I don't know where else to go." Her words cut into Keanu like a knife. He felt a lump in his throat, something he could not swallow. Here was a young soul facing the end of her journey, and the world walked by without noticing. Keanu sat down beside her on the wet steps. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The rain fell harder, but neither moved. "What's your name?" he asked. "Anna," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "Anna, I'm Keanu." She blinked as if she did not believe him. Then, after a long pause, she smiled faintly. "I know who you are," she said. "But here, you're just a man sitting beside me in the rain, and that means more than any autograph." Those words pierced him. Keanu had faced fame and loneliness all his life, but in that moment he felt something he had not felt in years. Raw, unfiltered truth. Then came the moment that would change everything. Anna reached into her small bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was wet, the ink smudged, but still readable. She placed it in his hands and said, "This is my secret. I write letters to myself so I don't forget who I am when people look away. Maybe one day someone will read them and understand me." Keanu opened the paper carefully. The first line shook him. "Dear Anna, even if the world forgets you, you must remember you were kind." Tears welled up in his eyes. This fragile girl, left alone with only months to live, carried more strength in her heart than most people he had ever met. He looked at her and said, "Anna, if you'll let me, I want to hear your story, every part of it. Not as an actor, not as someone famous, but as a human being who wants to listen." Anna's lips trembled, and for the first time that night, she began to cry. And so, under the pouring rain, a journey began. One that would test humility, reveal hidden pain, and bring forward an act of kindness so powerful it would move Keanu Reeves to tears. The next morning, Keanu could not stop thinking about Anna. He had spent most of the night awake, staring at the letter she had given him. The words were simple, but they carried a weight that pressed on his chest. "Dear Anna, even if the world forgets you, you must remember you were kind." Those words kept repeating in his mind. Kindness. That was something the world seemed to forget so easily. Yet here was a dying girl who held on to it as if it was the last treasure she had left. By sunrise, Keanu made a decision. He returned to the same street where he had met her. The rain was gone, and the morning air smelled fresh, but Anna was still there, wrapped in a thin blanket that barely kept her warm. Her eyes widened when she saw him approach. "You came back," she whispered, her voice carrying both surprise and relief. Keanu sat down beside her again. "Of course I did," he said softly. "I told you last night I want to hear your story." Anna looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, but some parts are not easy to tell." He leaned closer. "Then those are the parts I need to hear most." And so she began. Anna told him how she had grown up in a small town, raised by a single mother who worked as a maid. When her mother passed away, Anna followed the same path, working in hotels, cleaning rooms, and living quietly in the background of other people's lives. "I never complained," she said. "It was honest work. I liked seeing families smile when they entered a clean room. It made me feel like I gave them a little peace." But then her voice broke. When I got sick, the hotel manager told me I was a burden. He said guests didn't want to see someone coughing in the hallways. They let me go. No savings, no family left, just me. Keanu's hands clenched into fists. He felt anger rising, but he forced himself to stay calm for her sake. So I came to the city, she continued. I thought maybe here, someone would see me. But most people walk past pretending I don't exist. Her words cut deep. Keanu had seen the coldness of the world, but hearing it through her fragile voice made it feel unbearable. Just then, something unexpected happened. A woman in a neat business suit walked by and dropped a few coins into Anna's cup. Anna quickly picked one coin and held it up. Thank you, she said warmly with a smile that lit her pale face. Keanu was stunned. Her gratitude was not fake. It was real, powerful. She thanked the stranger as if the coin was gold. After the woman left, Keanu looked at Anna. You thanked her like she gave you the world. Anna nodded. Because she did. When you're invisible, even a coin means someone saw you, and being seen is more precious than money. Keanu felt his throat tighten. He had lived in a world where everyone saw him because of fame. Yet he often felt unseen as a human being. Anna lived the opposite, no fame, no spotlight. Yet she cherished the rare moments someone noticed her existence. Then came the moment that changed everything again. Anna took a small, folded cloth from her bag. She unwrapped it carefully and revealed a bracelet made of cheap beads. The colors were faded, but the design was delicate. This is the only thing I made with my own hands, she said quietly. I give it to people who make me feel human. I was saving it for the right person. And then, to Keanu's shock, she placed the bracelet in his hand. Why me? He asked, his voice trembling. Anna smiled softly. Because you didn't just see me. You sat beside me. You asked my name. You listened. That's worth more than anything. Tears filled his eyes. He had received awards, applause, recognition from millions. But this simple bracelet from a dying girl felt like the greatest honor of his life. Keanu squeezed it gently in his hand and said, Anna, I promise you, your story will not end in silence. I will carry it with me, and the world will know you lived with kindness. Anna's eyes filled with tears too, but hers were tears of peace. That's all I ever wanted, she whispered. As the morning sun rose higher, Keanu knew his life was about to change. He thought he had come to give, but in truth, he was the one receiving the gift of humility, resilience, and pure kindness from a girl with only months left to live. That evening, Keanu sat in his apartment staring at the bracelet Anna had given him. The faded beads glowed softly under the lamp, and each color seemed to tell a silent story. It was not made of gold, not valuable by the world's standards, yet it felt heavier than any jewel he had ever owned. He thought about what Anna had said. Being seen is more precious than money. Those words refused to leave his mind. Keanu could not ignore the pull in his heart. The next day, he returned to the same street again. Anna was there, weaker than before, her thin frame trembling in the cold, but she smiled when she saw him. You came back again, she whispered, her voice filled with quiet joy. Keanu sat beside her, this time carrying 2 cups of hot tea. He handed one to her, and she held it tightly as if the warmth was a rare treasure. Anna, he said softly, I don't want you to go through this alone. Tell me what you need. Anything, I'll help. Anna shook her head gently. I don't need money, Keanu. I don't need a house or clothes. I only need to spend the time I have left with dignity. I want to know I mattered to someone. Her honesty shook him. She wasn't asking for miracles, just humanity. And then something unexpected happened. As they sat together drinking tea, a hotel worker in uniform walked past. He stopped when he saw Anna, his face twisted with anger and shame. You again, he snapped. You should be gone by now. Don't sit here embarrassing yourself. Anna lowered her eyes, silent. Keanu felt fire rise in his chest. He stood up slowly, his tall figure casting a shadow over the man. Is this how you treat someone who worked for you? His voice was calm but firm, carrying an unshakable weight. The worker froze, suddenly realizing who he was speaking to. His arrogance faded, replaced with fear. Mr. Reeves, I didn't know. Keanu cut him off. You don't need to know who I am. You only need to know who she is. She's a human being who gave her strength to your hotel until sickness took it from her. Respect her. Because if you cannot respect her, you cannot respect yourself. The man's face turned red, and without another word, he hurried away. Anna looked at Keanu, her eyes wide with shock. No one has ever defended me like that, she whispered. Keanu sat back down beside her, his hand trembling slightly. You deserved better, Anna. You always did. For a long moment they sat in silence. Then Anna took another folded letter from her bag and handed it to him. This one, she said softly. I wrote the day they fired me. I never showed it to anyone. Keanu unfolded it carefully. The words were shaky, but each line carried a storm of emotion. Dear Anna, even if they throw you away, remember your worth is not decided by their eyes. You are more than the job they gave you. You are more than the sickness in your body. You are human, and you are enough. Tears blurred his vision. He folded the paper carefully and held it close. Anna, he whispered, these letters, they're not just your secret anymore. They're your legacy. People need to hear them. The world needs to feel them. Anna smiled weakly. Maybe one day. But I won't be here to see it. Keanu leaned forward, his voice low but steady. Then I'll be your voice. I'll make sure the world knows who Anna was. Her eyes glistened, and for the first time, she reached out and held his hand. Her grip was weak, but her touch carried strength. You don't know what that means to me, she whispered. And in that fragile moment, something powerful happened. Keanu realized this was not just about helping a girl in her final months. This was about carrying a story that could awaken the sleeping hearts of millions. The following week, Keanu could not stay away. Each day he returned to the corner where Anna sat, and each day he found her weaker but never bitter. She carried herself with quiet grace even when the world gave her nothing in return. Keanu began to notice something else. A few strangers who passed by regularly started slowing down when they saw him sitting beside Anna. Some even stopped and offered food, not because Anna begged, but because they were moved by the sight of someone like Keanu giving her his time. Anna noticed too. You see, she whispered one morning, people don't change because of money. They change when they see kindness in action. Her words sank deep into him, but behind her soft smile, Keanu could see the growing shadow of her illness. She coughed more. Her skin grew paler, and sometimes she could barely keep her eyes open. Still, she held on, writing her letters each night, keeping her secret alive. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Anna surprised Keanu. She handed him a bundle of folded pages tied with a piece of string. These are all my letters, she said quietly. I want you to have them. If my time comes sooner than I hope, promise me you'll read them all. Keanu took the bundle with trembling hands. I promise, Anna. Every word you wrote will be heard, not just by me, but by the world. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded, comforted by his vow. Then, as if fate wanted to test his words, something shocking happened. A group of teenagers passed by. At first they laughed among themselves, but then one of them pointed at Anna. Look, it's that sick girl who just sits here begging. Another boy sneered. Pathetic. Keanu stood up instantly, his eyes cold with fire. Enough, he said firmly. His voice carried a weight that made the group fall silent. But Anna, instead of anger, lifted her fragile voice and said, Don't be cruel. You don't know how fast life can change. One day it might be you sitting where I am. Her words hit harder than any scolding. The boys lowered their heads, shame on their faces, and quickly walked away. Keanu looked at her in awe. You had every reason to be angry, but you chose kindness again. Anna smiled faintly. Because anger doesn't heal hearts. Kindness does. That night, Keanu read the first letter from the bundle. It began with the line, Dear Anna, when the world turns its back on you, stand tall and turn your face toward the sky. He wept quietly, realizing that these letters were not only Anna's survival, but also a map of wisdom the world desperately needed. The next day, he returned with a new idea. Anna, he said, his voice steady, I want to share your words. I want to read them out loud here on this street so the people who pass by can feel what I felt. Anna's eyes widened. But I'm just a maid. My words don't matter. Keanu shook his head firmly. They matter more than you know. You think you are invisible, but your truth could open the eyes of thousands. For a moment she hesitated. Then with a trembling smile she whispered, If you believe in me that much, then yes, let them hear. And so, as evening came, Keanu stood on the corner, the bundle of letters in his hands. Anna sat beside him, weak but proud. He began to read aloud, his voice echoing down the busy street. Passers-by slowed. Some stopped. Others pulled out their phones. The words were simple, but they carried a force stronger than fame or wealth. And as Keanu looked around, he saw something extraordinary. For the first time, Anna was not invisible. People were seeing her, truly seeing her. The night after Keanu read Anna's letters on the street, something extraordinary happened. Videos of the moment began spreading online. People wrote comments like, "Her words broke me," and "I've never cried this much from a stranger's letter." But Anna didn't know any of this yet. She only knew the joy of being seen, of hearing her thoughts spoken aloud by someone who cared. "Do you see what's happening?" Keanu whispered to her as they sat together the next day. "People are listening. Your words are reaching hearts you never imagined." Anna's lips curved into a fragile smile. "Then my life is not wasted," she whispered. But her body was failing faster than expected. Her cough grew harsher, her energy faded, and her hands trembled constantly. Keanu could see the weight of time pressing down on her. One night he walked her to a small shelter, convincing her to rest indoors. The caretaker, a kind woman, offered Anna a bed. But when Anna lay down, she turned her face toward Keanu. "You promised me something," she whispered. He leaned closer. "Anything, Anna. When I'm gone, don't let my letters disappear. Share them. Make people remember kindness." Keanu's eyes burned with tears. "You're not gone yet. But I swear your words will live." Anna reached out, her hand barely brushing his. "Then I can sleep in peace tonight." And she did, but her breathing was shallow. The next morning, Keanu returned early. The caretaker met him at the door, her face pale. She collapsed during the night. "We called an ambulance. They took her to the hospital." Keanu's heart dropped. He rushed there immediately, his chest pounding. When he entered the sterile white room, he saw Anna lying weakly on the bed, machines beeping softly around her. Her eyes fluttered open when she heard his voice. "You came," she whispered. "Of course," he said, pulling a chair close. "I told you I won't leave." She tried to smile, but her lips trembled. "It's strange," she murmured. "When you're this close to the end, you stop being afraid. You just want to know that someone will carry your story forward." Keanu held her hand gently. "Anna, your story will never die. I'll make sure the world remembers you." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Then I can let go when the time comes." Suddenly, the heart monitor beeped louder, her breathing shallower. Nurses rushed in. Keanu stepped back, his heart pounding, fear ripping through him. But Anna lifted her eyes and looked straight at him. "Don't cry for me," she whispered faintly. "Cry for the people who forget kindness." And then her eyes closed. The nurses worked quickly, stabilizing her, but she slipped into unconsciousness. Keanu sat frozen, his chest heavy with grief and helplessness. He held the bundle of her letters in his hands, gripping them like lifelines. That night, he walked out of the hospital and sat alone on a bench. The city lights blurred through his tears. He opened one of her letters and read under the flickering streetlight. "Dear Anna, if you cannot live long, then live wide. Touch as many hearts as you can before your time runs out." The words shattered him. She had written her own prophecy. In that moment, Keanu made a decision. It was no longer just about sitting with Anna. It was about carrying her message to the world. He would not let her letters fade into silence. He would become the voice she could no longer be. But just as he made this vow, his phone buzzed. It was the doctor. Anna's condition had worsened. She had slipped into a coma. Keanu closed his eyes, his hand shaking as he held the bracelet she had given him. "Anna," he whispered into the night, "you gave me your secret. Now I'll give the world your truth." The hospital was silent when Keanu arrived the next morning. The nurse at the front desk spoke softly. "She's still in a coma. The doctors aren't sure if she will wake again." Keanu walked slowly to her room. Anna lay still, pale, her fragile chest rising and falling with the rhythm of the machine. The bundle of letters rested on the table beside her bed. He pulled a chair close and held her hand. "Anna," he whispered, "I know you can hear me. I promised you that your words would live, and I will keep that promise. You may not wake, but your story will never sleep." For hours he sat there reading her letters aloud. One by one, line by line, his voice filled the room. "Dear Anna, remember that your kindness is not weakness. It is your strength. Dear Anna, when people walk past you, forgive them. They may be carrying pain too. Dear Anna, even if the world gives you nothing, give the world your heart." Nurses passing by stopped to listen. One of them wiped her eyes quietly. Another whispered, "Whoever wrote these, she's extraordinary." Keanu nodded. "Yes," he said softly. "She is." That night, he left the hospital and went straight to a television studio where a live charity event was being held. When it was his turn to speak, the crowd expected him to talk about movies or fame. Instead, he pulled Anna's letters from his pocket. Tonight, he said, his voice breaking slightly, I want to share the words of someone you don't know. Her name is Anna. She worked as a maid until illness took everything from her. She has only months left, but her heart holds more wisdom than anything I could ever say. And then he read one of her letters to millions of viewers. Dear Anna, if life gives you only a short time, let that time shine so bright that others carry your light when you are gone. The audience fell silent. Many wiped tears from their eyes. On social media, her words spread like fire. Strangers across the world repeated her lines, calling her the girl with the letters. Back at the hospital, Anna's nurse played the broadcast in her room, and though Anna was still in a coma, a single tear slid down her cheek. The next morning, Keanu returned. The doctor met him at the door. Her time is very near, he said gently. Keanu entered and sat beside her again. Anna, he whispered, his voice trembling, the world heard you. They know your kindness. They know your strength. You are not forgotten. Suddenly, her fingers twitched. Her eyes fluttered open just barely. She looked at him, weak but filled with peace. You kept your promise, she whispered faintly. Keanu's eyes blurred with tears, always. Her lips curved into the softest smile. Then I can go. And with those words, Anna closed her eyes for the last time. Keanu held her hand until the machines went silent. The grief was heavy, but so was the light she left behind. In the weeks that followed, Keanu published her letters as a small book titled The Letters of Anna. All profits went to hospitals and shelters. Millions read her words and thousands wrote that Anna's voice had changed the way they lived, treated others and valued kindness, and every night, when Keanu looked at the bracelet she had given him, he remembered the girl who had only months left, but still managed to teach the world that kindness outlives time.